Hi, and welcome to the Texas Apartment Association Education Foundation series Hints from HR. This program is designed to reveal tips for those interested in careers and career growth in multifamily. I'm Blaise Spitaleri, the Business Development Manager with Gemstar Construction. We have a great program today. We're going to be discussing career paths. There are many different highways to drive down in the multifamily city. And not to quote Drake directly, but this is definitely an industry where you can start from the bottom and then make it here.
No,
Make
no, no,
any
no.
vision
You're not quoting
you
Drake,
want
are
it
you?
to be. Uh, I'm sorry, what was that, Nicole?
I said you're already started by the bottom, but we're here. All right, we're already going with Drake. I love
That's
it.
right, DJ Nicole. Thank you very much. As a reminder, though, we are live. We started a couple minutes late. We had some technical difficulties, but if you're watching us live here, you can interact with us by asking questions in the chat field during the broadcast. We'll be monitoring them. So if you have questions, any kind of feedback, chime in and we will get to them. Becca will be monitoring them. And let's meet our panel. So joining the program, of course, we have Becca Ramadi, the VP of TAAEF. We have the veteran of Hints from HR, the ever so talented Nicole Block. And our expert joining us today is Sarah Fox. She joined BG Staffing in 2010 with a background in property management, marketing, and sales. Sarah worked in numerous roles within the multifamily industry, from leasing consultant, assistant property manager. She moved up her career to the current role that she has now with BG as vice president. Sarah has served in multiple associations across the nation. She currently sits on the National Apartment Association's Career Committee. We're glad to have you with us. Thank you for being here, everybody. Sarah, let's jump off right now. Can you just tell us how you began your career in the multifamily industry?
Hi, yes, and thank you, Blaise. Excited to share about how I got into the apartment industry. It's probably a lot similar to a lot of the people that are in the industry, and is that I fell into it. So back when I was around 21 years old, I was going to community college, living on my own, and I just walked in to pay my rent. And the assistant manager at the time, she came. I gave him my check, walked back out, and she came and almost tackled me in the parking lot and said, "Are you looking for a job?" And I said, I've kind of been thinking about doing something different. So she recruited me. I had no idea at all that there was a team in place or a company that actually managed the property. Didn't even think about it. So long story short, I was recruited, and it was the day that literally changed my life forever. At that point, I get almost a little cryy over it, but at that point, being 21 years old, I was so blessed to have stumbled into an industry that so many people have no idea, that know nothing about. So at that point, I became a recruiter. I wanted all of my friends to know exactly about what I got into. So at that point, I was just really trying to get all of my friends jobs in the industry because had treated me so great, and there was just so many different career paths that I saw myself, being able to have the opportunity to go to. So I guess that's kind of ultimately why, how and why I landed where I'm at now, in the recruiting industry. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and I feel like
that's
oh, I was gonna say that story is so similar too, of once you actually get engulfed in the industry as well. I know I was similar in that regards, of talking to my friends and family and letting them know how fantastic this industry is. So that resonates a lot, I think, with a lot of people in this industry. And you hear so many stories about, let's go back to that Drake quote again. People starting at the bottom, and now they've worked their way up, and they've worked their careers to be executives at the highest levels. How does that even happen, though? Right? That's the question. Like, people always think this can't happen to me, but it can. So if you guys would
Well,
like to share,
well, and one thing I was thinking, and thank you for censoring the Drake song too. I was getting a little worried that the real version was going to come out, but hey, we're going to roll with what we roll with. But one of the things I heard Sarah say, and I appreciated from our conversations we've had before, is that paying attention to her passion. So she joins this industry, and she was on site before she joined BG. But she said the second she joined, she started recruiting. Now it's kind of a fun parallel and a pun, either intended or not, but she was recruiting before that was her actual role in the industry. So I think that that's really powerful to her message when she starts talking about kind of defining your why. I think that there's a lot of parallels we can make as far as what our passions are and where we end up. So I just wanted to point that out, Sarah, that I think that that's wonderful.
Thank you.
So speaking of, people working their way up, one of the most fascinating things about our industry is you don't necessarily need a college education to join our industry, because the associations and the education that comes along with working in this industry is so vast. There's so many different avenues to go down to get the education and be able to use that as building blocks for your career. You want to touch base a little bit, Sarah, on maybe some of the different ways that you can get involved and start here and work your way to a strong career?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. One of the things you said in regards to the diversity of the career paths that I think that I want to shed a little bit of light on. Some of the roles that are most sought out for after young, people graduate from college or even high school are business, finance, and marketing roles. So when you originally think of business, finance, and marketing as a newly college grad or a newly high school graduate, the multifamily industry probably isn't the first industry that pops into your head. So just something to just create and shed some light on is that it is a great career for business. Lots of different avenues that touch financing, marketing, and so I think that so I just want to touch on that for a second. But yeah, I think that I'm an advocate. I know I have a lot of partner friends that work for staffing companies in the multifamily industry as well. Entering into the apartment industry through a staffing company really get your foot in the door. I think now more than ever, it used to be that the management company and the hiring managers were the ultimate decision maker when choosing you, whether or not they want to choose you as a certain position. But right now, the times have really changed. I mean, right now, the candidates and the new people in the industry, as long as they have the drive, the desire, the great work ethic, and they have that, desire to want to help people, times have really changed. They've, entering in through a staffing company really allows that candidate to be able to find their right home. We have clients and we have partners throughout the industry. And so we really kind of help break down those barriers of having the perfect resume to be able to really get those folks, foot in the door. And a lot of staffing companies, including mine, not mine, I wish. We offer, free training for not only leasing consultants, but then also the maintenance technicians as well. So we're really just trying to really recruit new faces, people just like myself, that were just great work ethic, good personalities, and to recruit them into the industry for a longer term. And a lot of times, a lot of people think too, Blaze, there's staffing companies for every single industry. For the longest time, I thought that we were the only ones that did what we did. But now that I work for an even larger company, BGSF, we staff for all different industries. That could be from the business, the accounting, the finance, the marketing, the C-suite positions and stuff too. So staffing firms are really a great way to be able to kind of try out different properties, who you mesh well with or not, and what company culture fits you the best. So,
yeah.
Sarah, I think that your story and also what you were mentioning about marketing and finance and some of those things that you might not think about as being part of the industry is really the career path piece of this is really what makes our industry so unique.
Yeah.
And along with that fact that you can start at the bottom and reach the tippy tops of, executive heights is really what's so unique about this industry and really what TAAEF is trying to share and tell that story to those who haven't had that light bulb moment where they consider the apartment industry.
Well, and I would also echo that, growing in place is really something I think people don't consider. And what I mean by that is that, you come in again, entry level or a leasing consultant, or, and as you're learning, you're learning laterally. You're not always, going to be going up, in a a vertical trajectory. And I think that growing in place is important. And I think that what you mentioned about being able, if you come in as a leasing consultant, sometimes you hear people say, "Oh, I'm just a leasing consultant." And I'm like, well, first of all, look at your body language. Who's going to sell? Who's going to buy from you, right? And so you are the leasing consultant. You are the front lines. You represent our brand. And here's what you're able to do. You're able to sell. You're able to anticipate needs. You're able to offer customer service. You're able to take market information and give feedback in order to get the best price for your product and see how you compare. So now you're marketing and you're helping to at least be part of the conversation with setting rent. So now you're looking at a more financial component, and you'll start to really kind of go laterally and grow in place. And I think that is what has been, we're talking about our career paths, is that I've been able to do so many things in operations that I think in any other industry would have been a little bit more linear. If I'm going into aviation, it's going to be airplanes, right? And even though I'm in housing, it's anything but. So I think that that's a message that we really are continuing to try to push out there. And to your point with the staffing, is that they can come in and take us for a test drive, whether it be the company or the industry, and be able to see how they best fit. So it's definitely a conversation we need to keep having, because the word needs to get out, more about our industry and really where it can take you.
Yeah, and staffing firms, they're really unique too. And Sarah, you mentioned it, that they can give you some of that education and guidance into facilitating one's career. Now, do you ever use as a recruiting tool the potential that, starting in this industry, what potential it can carve out for you for your future goals? Do you use that? Do you ever sit down with somebody and show them the trajectory of what it all could look like?
Yeah, so definitely. And even within, we do a lot of talking, even internally with our company, and, just kind of segueing into, talking about other career paths and recruiting tools that employers can use. I think creating a visual career path is something that our company does a good job doing, but creating a visual career path, and really as property, these owner and operators really know that, and creating that visibility. Basically, not all leasing consultants, we are a leasing consultant, and you automatically think, if I'm going to move up, it's going to be because I'm going to be an assistant manager, a property manager. But not all leasing consultants are going to be good assistant property managers, and not all assistant property managers are going to be good property managers. So really maximizing on the individual strengths and creating a very visual, clear career path. An assistant manager might be a great junior accountant in the corporate office. So you can talk to your employees about where they want to go next. If the assistant manager, can either go into a property manager role, or maybe they can go into that junior accountant role, or, analyst role. Or in the leasing consultant, maybe their next step is assistant manager, or their next step could be that, a social media, a place in the marketing field. So really being able to, as the leaders of our companies, have those transparent conversations and really get to know the person individually. Mm-hmm. So we can make sure that the talent that's great out there, that you maximize on creating that visual, and really kind of knowing what their passion is, what's their why, and utilizing that passion and that why that's in the position that's best suited for them.
Well, and they're brought in, right? I mean, if you show that you're invested in someone's success, and you're going to use your expertise and blend it with what their passion is, and they can see the path. It's very rarely is it linear. The path to success is ups, downs, twist arounds. But if they feel like you're invested and they can see a path forward, then I think the longevity and turning it from, as we say, a job into a career has a better probability.
Yeah, and I've heard the why a couple of times so far since we started. And I think that's really important, to define what your why is. What is your passion? Where do you see yourself? The check-in of like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Because everybody's path is different and everybody's why is different. Now, how do you utilize people's why to guide them into the career and not just the job.
So I'll speak on
Yeah.
sorry, I'm not sure if you're asking myself, but I'll just go ahead and hop in. I think that it really comes down to if you're going to be really good at what you love. And if you're not loving what you do every single day and you're not having fun, then you're in the wrong career path. So really kind of just diving in and again, having, you're guiding them by, I always say this industry is, we're all friends trying to help friends be more successful. Mm-hmm. And so, the more you can get to know that one person and again, really maximize on their why is just really going to help lead them and maybe guide them into, an opportunity that they might not have been able to see for themselves. So I think that, going from a job to a career, you might need, a mentor. And when I started in the industry, I voluntold someone to be my mentor, and I thank him to this day. So, definitely someone to be able to hold you accountable, guide you in the right direction, and just be that sounding board to be able to help advance you, I think is really important.
Yeah, and I think the mentor component is truly invaluable. We also talk not this whole series about authenticity and connection, and so you want to make sure that the mentor you choose is going to be someone that is invested in your success and that does understand what your needs are, and also has a breadth of knowledge. To your point, Blaze, if I don't know anything about this industry and someone's coming to me and telling me about their passions, I don't know how they fit. I don't know where to send them. I don't know, really how to leverage their passion. So choosing and finding a mentor is so important because they can kind of show you the roadmap. I mean, they can't, walk the path for you. But I think that you have to establish that with the mentor, and they're out there, and they won't always, say, hi, I'd like to mentor you. It's nothing it's that formal. To Sarah's point, she's like, hey, kind of talking. So don't be afraid to speak up to someone that you connect with and say, may I ask your guidance on something? It doesn't always have to be this like formal mentor-mentee relationship. It needs to just be a dialogue, and a fresh, honest, authentic dialogue is what you need in order to keep, kind of maneuvering down your path. So I love that Sarah voluntold hers. That's amazing. But obviously she felt comfortable enough, right? There was that connection there to where she knew that she could, so I think that the choosing of a mentor doesn't have to be so formal, but you do need to find guidance from people that you trust.
Yeah. And just to kind of reiterate that and speak a little bit from my own personal experience, I think it's also important to not just choose one mentor as well.
Oh, yeah.
You have many mentors through your career. I know that myself, I have a lot of different people that have been mentors to me, and I feel like I've been mentors to a lot of people as well. But it's always keeping your opportunities, keeping the door open, and not shy away from something that may be a little bit different than you're used to. Challenge yourself, I think, is another great way to be able to grow in this industry.
Well, and if I could just take the helm for a second, Blaze, I'm going to flip the script on you. So when we were talking, I think that the stories that you were sharing as far as your experience, maybe I think that the audience would probably benefit from, what you shared with us as far as always picking the challenge, always taking the challenge, no matter really what it was. So I'd love for you to share with the group, and then I'll give you the helm back.
Yeah, I guess an abridged version was I moved down in 2009 from New York to Dallas, Texas. And I did not even know multifamily industry existed. I grew up in a flooring industry in New York through my father and his father before that. So I had one trade under my belt. And there was an organization that was centralizing their locations in Dallas, and it was a flooring company. So I took an opportunity and went to a job fair, actually, that they were holding, and started my career with them. And I was in the corporate office, and I was manager of a billing department, and it was getting to me because people don't call the billing department typically to tell you how good of a job you're doing. I was the manager of that department. I got all of the headaches, and it started really weighing down on my mental health. And I felt like I needed to do something more where I interact with people. And I saw my sales reps in the company in our Dallas branch were always telling me about, the different trade shows and events that were put on by their local associations and TAA, I would hear about all these expos, and I'm like, I want to go out. I want to go out in the field. And there was an opportunity for me to move to Waco to take over as a branch manager. And I jumped on the opportunity, and new to Texas, not knowing anybody down here, I was just like, yes, let's move to Waco. And
There's no difference in Dallas and Waco, so you're fine. There was no transition.
yeah, and then, well, shortly thereafter, there was an opportunity for me to move to Corpus Christi and do kind of the same thing I was doing in Waco in a little bit of a larger market. And I took that opportunity. And then eventually another opportunity came up in Houston, and I moved to Houston as well with my family. And that's where I am currently today.
But I think what I want to make sure, and I know you wouldn't say this about yourself, but I think that you were brave. And I think that you're brave enough to go where the opportunities were. You had the ability. We don't always have the ability to be, relocating all the time, but you were brave enough to ask the question. You went from sales to flooring. You do bids. You're telling me about some drone tours you were doing. I mean, so now you're so much more well-rounded because you asked the question and you went where the challenge was. And I think that also illustrates on the supplier side, it's not just the operators, it's also on the supplier side that if you have the opportunity to wear so many multiple hats in this industry, and it's not linear. So thank you. And you can have the controls back.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And the thing was too, I eventually moved out of flooring now, and I'm in general contracting, which it challenged me to learn even more about the industry. And I love it every single day. So if you have opportunities, say yes and take them and try them. And if it doesn't
figure it out
work,
later,
it's not the end of the world. Because like we're talking about, there's a million different opportunities in this industry to be able to, find your why and your passions. So
exactly. If you want to just, tell as many people as you possibly can where you want to be at, because you're definitely not going to get there by staying quiet.
Correct. And just to reiterate this too, no two career paths are ever the same. But then, to kind of like backpedal a little bit, I'm going to go back to a question here with that in mind. And Sarah, maybe you want to start this off, but how does one set expectations for themselves?
I think, again, it's all about transparency. I'm a very visual person, so I would highly suggest, again, telling as many people as possible of where you want to be at and asking for that accountability. So maybe write down where you want to be at and what are your 10-year goals? If that's I'm a futuristic person, so 10 years is easy for me to map out. But sometimes 10 years kind of seems a little unrealistic. So maybe narrowing that back down to maybe 5 years. So where do I want to be at in 5 years? Even put it on your calendar, see where you want to be at, check in with yourself every 6 months, and work your way down, and really creating a visual path on where you want to be at year to year. And also just really, vocalizing it and reaching out to people that can be very intentional about helping and guiding you to get there, because you're not alone, and definitely not in this industry.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would probably say too that for me in planning and goal setting, I shared this with the group before. I used to be very timeline driven, and life doesn't work that way. As far as like the tick marks. So I made mine about a mindset and about a skill set. And so if there were things I wanted to get experience in managing through or helping people or learning it myself, then that's how I had my focus. So if it was, we talked about, when I was a regional manager and there wasn't any opportunity for growth at that time, then I started to help the audit department. I started to help the training department. I started to help, acquisitions, dispositions, development. And so you just get more experience and learn to also collaborate with people. You learn, all of your soft skills. And you fail and you learn, and you fail and you learn, and you keep going. So I think that for me, yes, goal setting is absolutely crucial and important. But mine is more of a focus on a mindset and a skill set, rather than like some people get title oriented. So I'm not wrapped up in a title per se. I'm more looking at maybe my circle of influence now, as opposed to saying I want to be at this level. But everyone's different, like you said, and I think that all of it's valid. I think that as long as you know your direction and you are holding yourself accountable with your circle of accountability, then that just helps you to be more successful.
And also,
I think what Sarah said about transparency, especially coming from employers, being realistic about timelines and being
Yeah.
realistic about the things needed to be learned to move ahead, and sharing that and talking about it with especially those new to the industry who have no reason to know what they need to do to get to that next step, whatever that is. Transparency is a big part of that happening in a good way for people, that doesn't get them frustrated and doesn't make them want to leave.
Well, and you know what, Becca, great point. And I failed to mention it earlier, but we set expectations. If someone's entering the industry, you know, we talk about how much we love this industry, the pace, it's never the same day twice. And that, you know, you're going to learn so much because you have all these avenues. But what we don't realize, the flip side and unintended consequence of that, is that the learning curve is long, you know, because you have so many things to learn. And so we really don't want to discourage people. We want to give them a chance. Just say, hey, listen, give yourself, instead of 90 days, it might be 6 months. It might be a full year sometimes. It doesn't mean that you're not going to know anything for 12 months, but it's going to be a progression. And I think that is something that we need to set those expectations for, so they don't get frustrated. You're not doing the same job every single day. You're not going to be a professional in 30 days, you know? So I think that was a really, really valid point, Becca. And I think that people need to hear it.
And your goals can change too. Let's just keep that in mind too. So when you doing your yearly check-ins for like what your 5 and 10 year goals may be, don't be, you know, get down on yourself if you're like, well, I don't really see myself going in that direction anymore. I kind of have this as a vision, because we are evolving all the time. And I feel like I said this last week with company culture as well, but career paths are not a destination as well. They're a journey, and you got to just continue on that path, and you know, not be afraid of opening up a window and finding out it's a door, you know?
Oh yeah. And running straight into the door and then turning around and going to open up another window. I mean, you know, don't get frustrated. I mean, we make choices, and it's the people that you meet along the way, and it is the journey, and it's always moving. So as long as you keep moving and you keep learning, then you're going to be a success.
Wait.
Can we check in on any of the Facebook chats or comments, questions?
We've got just some kudos and some nice comments, and no real questions today.
Wow.
All right.
I guess, Sarah, you're hitting it out of the park today.
The ringer, Sarah Fox. Well, very good. And you know what? I think that my goals, you know, like you said, the goals changing. I mean, now that I met Blaze, I just want to be more like him. So I got to add that into my goals now.
And when I'm up in Dallas next time too, we'll be sure to sit down and schedule that as well.
Okay, perfect. Be my mentor. I'm going to volunteer you.
Hey, Blaze, guess what? One more plug for the Be the Next Room to Grow Ambassador Maintenance Edition before the submission deadline.
Yes, absolutely. And first, I just want to thank our awesome guest today, Sarah Fox. Thank you so much for giving us insight and your knowledge on career paths. Thank you. Nicole, always a pleasure, and your commentary and knowledge goes so far. Thank you, Becca. And I do want to let you guys know about the Texas Apartment Association's Education Foundation Room to Grow Ambassador. This year, we're focusing on our maintenance professionals in multifamily. So recognize your maintenance professionals that help your properties just be as great as they always are. You know, it's a simple process. Answer a few questions on video, you upload it, a panel of industry experts will select the finalists. The winner is voted on by the public. The winner will have a professional video made of their story, plus free registration and hotel for the 2021 TAA conference this April, a $500 gift card. Submissions are due at 11:59 p.m. on January 26th. More information, you can go to taaef.org. Again, thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. We appreciate
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
We'll see you soon.